It goes straight right in.
Okay, that's fine.
And we are live, actually. Welcome to episode 23 of a Dynasty Mind. Welcome back. I know it's a short turnaround where we had fantastic guests, but tonight I want to introduce one of the bigger guests in our podcast because, if you look at his credentials, writer for DLF, host of DynastyLifePod, and recently nominated for one of the best Debbie follows on Ryan McDowell's list, and also a Tennessee Titans fan. Tonight, I have Travis May. Travis, how are you?
Doing great. Just glad to be here talking football. And Tuesday is already my podcast night with the Dynasty Life Pod. So I get to do 2 and 1 tonight. So it should be fun.
Awesome. So you probably don't know this, before the show went on, I retweeted a old mock that we did last year. It was our Disney song mock. It will showcase Travis is not only a Dynasty Mind, but he's also a fantastic musician. And
that was a lot of fun. And it's been about a year, hasn't it?
Yeah. I was surprised how long it's been, but it's great to know that, we share a lot of interests even outside of football, and sometimes we just mix those two together and it becomes a very wonderful experiment.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun. Do you remember all of your songs that you chose for the Disney mock draft?
Yeah, I know I got a Hercules one, and oh boy, it's probably Lion King or something. I'll go.
Yeah, I had Hakuna Matata, and then Try Everything from Zootopia, and then Everybody Wants to Be a Cat. Yeah, that's the one you retweeted.
Yeah, you went off the board. Those are like your non-mainstream Disney, but still fantastic classics. Actually a very recent one too.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah, man.
Well, thank you. So let's dig in tonight. What's your sense of the NFL free agency? It's been going on, and it's crazier every year that I've paid attention to, because teams are not afraid to move players, to trade for players. And I want to specifically focus on the AFC South. What is your sense of how that changes the whole division, and how do you like your chances for Titans to go back to the playoffs?
I like my Titans' chances this year. I think they've been doing a lot of good things to just position themselves, making the right re-signings and signing a few new faces that they really needed to replace a couple people like Deion Lewis coming in. That brings a whole lot of, more speed to and, elusiveness to the backfield that was missing last year. Then, you have Malcolm Butler that can come in, former teammate with Logan Ryan already. He spent 3 years with Logan Ryan on the Patriots, so the communication between the DBs should be improved. I think that'll be smooth and seamless. And then re-signing guys like Josh Klein, he's one of the best guards on the team, and Daquan Jones on defensive end, really tackle. He can do it all. He can slide inside when you need to. They're just making a lot of good signings that point in the right direction, getting deeper just about everywhere that they need to. So I can't wait to see what they do in the draft. It's going to be an exciting offseason. I think on paper, they're already better than they were last year. So if they can get back to the playoffs, win a playoff game, I'm all for that.
Yeah, that division has suddenly become very competitive. All 4 teams has a shot. Oh, well, if Andrew Luck decides to come back. But yeah, 3 of the teams were playoff contenders.
Mm-hmm.
Houston, if they had Deshaun Watson, who knows how much closer that division would have been. But you also had a new coach, Mike Vrabel, and he's bringing a lot of new ideas. I myself have to admit that I was doubting Malarkey the first year, and then he surprised, and then I wanted to buy into second year, and it looks stale, but they still made the playoffs. So I can't say that he was a bad. The coaching stuff was bad.
Yeah, I'm excited about Vrabel. I was never really excited about Malarkey. I think the offense, like you said, was just stale and outdated. And I think bringing in Matt LaFleur, he's worked with Shanahan, he's worked with McVay. He was with Matt Ryan during his MVP season. He was even with RG3. He was a quarterback's coach for RG3 during the only 2 years of RG3's career that were relevant in 2012, 2013. Everywhere he's gone, everything he's touched has been a good thing. So I'm excited about that offense moving forward this year.
That is great. Yeah, the OC hire was definitely one that got me excited. But for them to build a dynasty, they need to take the first step into improving that. They need a blueprint. So, but tonight we're talking fantasy. We're talking dynasty football, Travis, and you have one of the most brilliant dynasty mind out there, and you share your process on Twitter. You even do your own video, short Twitter. Even do the editing. I need to learn how to do that.
It's not hard. I should show you. Most of it's just like simple iMovie stuff. So shortcuts, man.
Nice, but I enjoy that. We really are moving more towards the video kind of analysis, and you've done a fantastic job just illuminating us, so letting us know which are the players to be looking out for. But let's talk about how you get to this point. How did you start with your dynasty experience and your process? How did you developed it over the years?
Oh man, several years ago, I just had no idea what I was doing. You hop on maybe Reddit, maybe the old school Dynasty League football forums, and just try to get some idea of what's going on and who's doing what and what players are worth what. I had no idea what I was doing early on. It wasn't until probably like 2014 when I finally convinced my home league to put together a Dynasty League that it really took off, and I really was like, okay, I can't mess around anymore. I've got to get a process down. I've got to beat my friends. So rather than just playing with like randoms that, you'll never meet. So, there's more skin in the game, so really had to figure out, okay, I've got to take a closer look at the combine. I've got to take a closer look at these players in college to get ahead. I've got to never really stop in season. Look at the stats week to week and just adjust to new information at the right time. And take an advantage of market inefficiencies. So it's definitely multifaceted, but I don't know really where you want me to begin exactly. Like what do I do during the off season, or like in season, or like what are you looking for?
Sure. Yeah, it's definitely sounds like a lot of my similar experience when I started Dynasty. It was swimming in a lot of information, and every year there's a lot more coming out.
Yeah.
Statistics, film, they're breaking down nuances of route trees, stems, hand fighting, and all of that. So at what point do you start, like a lot of the football players, the game starts slowing down for them? Like, when did that happen for you? When did you know these are the information I need to pay attention to? These are the information that I will keep in mind, but they're not part of my main analysis or main process.
Well, I think in 2015 or so, I really started to hone in a model that I had put together for running backs, and then a model that I was putting together for wide receivers. And at that time, I was really digging into Devy leagues where you can own college football players on your dynasty team, and then they hop on your team automatically when they get to the pros. And so I'd invested in that. I had a couple failed experiences at that. Like with I can't even remember what his name was, like Duke Williams I got way back in the day, Marquez North, Pharaoh Cooper. Like I had just completely swung and just whiffed, and a couple guys like try to draft them like when they're really young. Thought I was really smart, but I really just needed to get better at my process. But it really started to come together because you just over time build up a knowledge base. Like if you start watching a player when they're a freshman, and then 3 years later, they're like, oh, wow, I thought this guy was like already in the pros already. I've been watching this guy for forever. It just kind of begins to stack. You kind of build a knowledge database. You take notes on players and how they change over the years. At least I do. And then, what are they doing athletically that's improving? Like when they get to the combine, did that show up on film? So really just the whole process for me with prospect analysis, because of Devy, starts when players are in their final year of high school, and I'm looking at their huddle film and things like that as they head into college. And so, by the way, I'm not sure if you're muted or not, but I can't really hear you.
Don't worry. I train to stay very quiet so the video doesn't.
Okay. But But no, so I think that made it easier because I started to put together a model that was based on their athleticism, their statistics, their like their breakout age, their market share numbers, and not just like basic receptions and touchdowns, but like backfield splits and things like that. Taking a closer look at what it means for different conferences, even breaking it down with the Power 5 versus Group of 5 versus FCS, and trying to look at hit rates in that way to just make me better as far as prospect analysis goes. But that's really just one facet of it. I think once I felt comfortable with that, though, I really felt like, okay, I can now kind of dig into the game theory of it all and take advantage of different market inefficiencies with, with draft picks and timing that, when to sell those, when to accumulate those, when to sell specific positions, when to buy specific positions. So yeah, it took a long time, but 2015 was when I was like, okay, I feel like can start sharing this information. So the Fantasy Authority actually gave me the first chance to start sharing my fantasy nerdiness back in February 2016. And since then, it's just been a blast.
That's awesome. I mean, you jumped in from the 2014 to 2015. That seems like a big shift. And from what I'm hearing, your process is an actual marriage, a perfect marriage between statistical analysis and also film watching. I know you watch a lot of films. You even attend spring practices, if I didn't get that correct. And you're putting that into strategies that you would use. Like, this player is good. I know he's good, but I also know at what time, the cliff might fall off, or there's just chances that he might break out at certain times. So that informs you how you would buy, sell, trade, acquire, bid, all different types of transaction.
Yeah. Yeah, I think in Devy leagues, I don't know how many listeners do Devy, but timing the buying and selling of players and that is an art in and of itself. And the simple thing is, don't draft true freshmen at all. If they're running backs, you can make an exception, but just don't draft true freshmen, because you're going to wait for 3 years and they might hit, or you could just buy them later, or you could just, it's just, if you're going to hit somebody after the freshman year, watch them do something at the collegiate level. Don't go chasing the true freshman all the time. It just does not work. Yeah. But really, I think when it comes to the timing of everything throughout the year, I was just trying to go through my checklist, and I try to stick to this. When I veer away from it, I kick myself. But simply put, I stockpile picks that are 2 years out. Immediately after this year's NFL draft, I'll be buying 2020 picks, because no one cares about that. They're just trying to get their picks this year. If I want to just throw away my fourth this year to get a 2020 third or 2020 second or something crazy, just because someone's impatient and they want some specific player, I'll do that. And then again, I have another window in weeks 1 through 4 when I try to collect draft picks. Because everyone thinks they're a competitor. So they think, oh, all my picks are going to be late. So I can just go and sell that. I don't really need this. So I'll do that again. And then mid-season, I always do a QB check. If I have an extra body and I don't think I need him, I'll be looking to sell QBs for the players that maybe lost to Carson Wentz or lost somebody that went down, because that's where you can sell the QBs for the most, or closer towards the playoffs. Conversely, I will buy quarterbacks in the spring immediately after the season's over, because no one cares. Oh, yeah, we're supposed to do late round quarterback. It's startup season again. The quarterbacks are meaningless. And then again, the sell pick window for me is just always April and May, like right before the draft, because everyone's panicking. So I don't really, I'll take value when I can get it. If I really pay attention to the market, ADP, the calculators that are available, things like that. But I'm really never really looking to sell my picks until like right before the draft. Those are a few things I definitely try to do. But the veteran running backs and wide receivers, like with free agency, that they all get devalued in this time right before the draft, because you're like, oh, I wonder if he gets replaced. So you get the Carlos Hyde discount on the Browns right now, because everyone thinks that Saquon Barkley is still going to go to the Browns, and that's probably not going to happen. given what they've been doing and how they've been positioning themselves. So just taking advantage of those little small gaps, small windows in time where the market says a player's value is lower. You just got to take advantage, which doesn't sound revolutionary, but pulling the trigger is the trick.
Yeah, that's a lot of good information that you give out, knowing like the timing. I've always stressed this in my previous writing, timing, and you applied that very well to know that summer I need to do this, spring I need to do this, during the draft seasons I need to do this, and that's a great way to just hone it down. And you even said you have a checklist. And for our listeners, if you have to take something away, take these several points. Don't draft true freshmen, especially quarterbacks. We've been snake bitten by quarterback from Virginia Tech, Logan Thomas.
Oh man,
first year. Christian Hackenberg, amazing, should be a stud, right? Myself, painfully, I have to admit, Brad Kaya looked amazing. One of them.
Yeah, and then they don't do anything. So it's really, it's in Devy League specifically. It's just a dangerous game to play. Running backs are the safest way to go. Big-bodied running backs who might have a pass-catching profile, that's the way to go. Unless you're Kalen Ballage, and then all you've really done is beat up Texas Tech. So I don't really know what to think about him. Oh, man. But I want him to pan out. Don't get me wrong. But he just weirds me out.
Absolutely. Yeah. I still haven't pinpointed down where I want Kalen Ballage, actually. And he's not bad. I mean, I don't want to buy too much into the workout numbers, but it does have some measure of value, especially if you compare it to others who performed at worse than he did. But we don't want to oversell what his potential is, because potentials can kill you. Cordero Patterson is a potential guy. Who else? Some other raw prospects. I've always buy into those early in my career. But speaking of buying, selling, and stuff like that, and you already touched a little bit on this, we're in the middle of a value fluctuation season, free agency, the draft's upcoming. People are really unsure whether this player will retain his value or lose his value or gain value in the upcoming months. How did your process help you stay grounded on these are the players that I'll value this way and rookies that I'll value that way?
Yeah, so like the free agency and everything right now, yeah, it's been absolutely crazy. Like the most insane thing that's probably happened and everyone's talking about is the value change in Jerick McKinnon and the noise surrounding that. And then Kyle Shanahan says this, and it's March. So he also banged the table for Joe Williams last year in the NFL draft. And man, that really panned out, didn't it? So I don't really know. Kyle Shanahan, like, yeah, he's their starting running back. If he wasn't your starting running back right now and you paid him what you just paid him, you would look incredibly foolish. So yeah, you're going to say that right now. But yeah, they're probably going to add somebody in the draft. And yeah, Matt Breida and Joe Williams are still there. Like, it's just, I don't know. It's the easiest avoid in market spike I've seen this offseason. If I had Jerick McKinnon, it'd be the easiest sell ever, because like I don't see how he'll ever be worth more than he is right now. So yeah, there is a slim chance that he stays the starter and maybe somebody gets injured and he takes the lion's share and has a fantastic season. But I would bet against that heavily. So that's the kind of situation I'm just like, nah, he's the same player. And no, he's not bad, but he's also not like this awesome feature back that was just going to plug in and completely revolutionize his career and become the next Le'Veon Bell. That's not who he is. So just reminding myself that when these players go to somewhere that's more enticing, they're still the same player. So their surroundings and opportunity changed, and adjust accordingly. But don't freak out.
I think that's important. Don't freak out, because it's very easily, I know I get pulled in myself when there's a novel situation that happens, when you see players landing in new situations or maybe gain a new role. We have a lot of players that come to mind. Derrick Henry, for a brief moment, was like, oh my gosh, you got to get a 102 to give up to get him. And now that Dion Lewis is brought in, people are like, second guessing themselves. So that's one example. Jerry McKinnon's fantastic example. I never believed much in him because of his convert. He's a convert. He was a quarterback in college, albeit a triple option kind of quarterback. But still, he showed much more than I expected from him last year, but he still wasn't a full-time back, even when Dalvin Cook went down. And that is kind of what I'm envisioning. People love the RBCCs, meaning coaches and teams. They really do like to share carries. You won't get a lot of players with a full carry load anymore, and you just need to just pay attention to a lot of those details myself and remind myself, oh, he might be in a great situation now. It doesn't mean the team is not adding someone or the team doesn't have a different plan for them. So those are some great points you brought up. Now, translating some of the process, you've brought in a lot of the Devi mind into your analysis, in your way of evaluating players and kind of projecting what they'll potentially become. We're not saying that, this player, we saw this, they're amazing. That's always going to be the case. We do have to take into account context. But applying your process, what are some of the rookies that you are seeing right now, the discussions on Twitter about who might be some that are you like more than others, or that others like more than you?
Yeah, so I keep seeing a lot of people, more people are coming around with the idea that DJ Moore could be the wide receiver one, which is really cool because he's my wide receiver one. So it's good to see people finally coming around with that. I still actually have DJ Moore ranked higher than any other ranker with Dynasty League Football. I have him at the 1.04 rookie pick right now, behind only Saquon Barkley, Darius Geis, and Nick Chubb. So that's pretty high for DJ Moore. But I really, when I was just trying to pick him apart, there's really not many things that you could possibly find wrong with DJ Moore. I think there were some questions as to, what his true athletic potential was going to be. And that was really the only blank that was missing. He had the massive market share numbers. He had the decent film, solid contested catching wide receiver. He massive yak potential, just finds a way to make a play, find a lane, and extend the play really well. I mean, he really carried the Maryland offense by himself. It was him and running back Ty Johnson this past season, who, by the way, averaged like 9 yards per carry. He's going to be an interesting mid-round guy next year himself. But DJ Moore, when I'm breaking down a wide receiver, I want to look at obviously their breakout age and market share like everyone has available to them. But I'm looking at their build, their route running, not just their route running, but how they get in and out of breaks, what they succeed in, what were they asked to do. So were they really only asked to do 3 or 4 routes? Were they really asked to do a whole bunch of routes, but really kind of short stuff? Were they just a one-trick pony, deep threat guy? And when I was looking at DJ Moore, he did a whole lot of things really well on film. And when you look at the film and it's good, and you look at the numbers and they're good, and you look at the athleticism, and every single thing that he did at the NFL Combine was above average, and in some cases absolutely crushed the average, and really every expectation. And then he shows up and he's 6'2", 210. It's like, man, he just literally checks every single box you could possibly have a prospect check. So everyone's loving running backs right now, but I think most years, if there hadn't been such a gross mess at wide receiver in the past few rookie drafts, DJ Moore would be like, the 1.02 locked. But, that's just not the case with many people just yet. But he is for me. So do you have DJ Moore that high?
I actually moved him higher every time because the people that I trust, the experts that or the analysts that I really trust in, they've been able to provide the evidence. And you just kind of summarized this evidence very well, because the film, he looks good. Statistics, things that I don't really know, but I do like how they're translated. Some people do that well, like Number Fire does that well. The guys at DLF do that well as well, to kind of translate what those athletic scores means, what the production means from his college. And like you said, it's stacking up to a point where I almost believe I can't, it's too perfect. Like I've never had a prospect have everything come together for them. People have some things they got to pick apart from him, but putting
Yeah.
it in context in film, you know that he had 5 different quarterbacks, if I'm not mistaken, in one season.
Yeah, he had, I think over his time at Maryland, I think it was 8 overall. So it's just absolutely insane what he had to put up with. And yet he still produced against the top, some of the top teams in the country at times. So
Right.
really impressive.
Yeah, and people can say, oh, he is the only talented guy there, so of course the market share is going to be elevated. But no,
Yeah.
but he had to step up, and he did. What more can you ask from a guy to do so?
Yeah.
Very versatile on film. He's not a one-trick pony at all.
No.
So things are stacking up for him. Do I have him? He's not exactly my highest wide receiver yet, but that's because I still need to pick apart the guys that I have ahead of him.
And that's fair. And like, yeah, not everybody's going to agree that he's the top option. For me, he checks just about every box I like to go over in my personal process. And so, yeah, I don't know what's dislike there. I'm sure you probably want a running back though too, not just a wide receiver. But Kerryon Johnson, a lot of people they just get bored with him or something when they watch him because he's not like he doesn't run a 4.41 like Saquon Barkley does. He's not 230 pounds. He stands upright, and so people want to knock him for having too high of a pad level, which apparently with the new rules in the NFL, you can't even get your helmet down anyway. So he's great, but he really he's a really technical back. Really carried the Auburn offense when they needed somebody to this past year. He's got adequate size. He's got really the perfect build, like right where I want to see them in terms of like pounds per square inch. Like his BMI is like right in that perfect range. He ran a 4.49-ish at his pro day. He's probably not that fast, but he's still above average in long speed. Showed some crazy burst in both of his jumps, 40-inch vertical and 126 inches in the broad jump. 10'6", that's solid. Really no major athletic questions, which some people had some. But he's just a really efficient back that doesn't really lose yardage. I actually charted 9 games of his this past season, and on 92% of his carries, he gained positive yardage, which, by the way, that's basically on par with Le'Veon Bell, really close to what he does. So he didn't blow it out of the water with the yards per carry, but that's just his style. He really doesn't try to go for the home run. He's just trying to get the first down. He's just trying to keep the drive going. And I think real NFL teams are going to like that more than maybe draft Twitter does because they want to see more flash. But he plays with some strength. He runs angry, and he can get down when he needs to. So another guy I have higher than any other ranker at DLF, but I like him a lot.
Yeah, that's a good, fair point to say. Just because a running back runs high doesn't mean he doesn't know how to use his pad level. I think Matt Wallman kind of showed this with a previous running back. I can't remember who it was exactly. He also had an upright running style, but when the time needs for him to just square up, lower the shoulder to get those punishing runs, he can do it. And probably we'll get to see that from Kerryon Johnson. And you're right. People aren't going to be excited when they pop the film of Kerryon Johnson just because they are comparing him to guys. They're comparing him to Chubb. They're comparing him to Michelle. All of them had these amazing long runs, and you're not going to get that consistently from Kerryon, but he still can do some of that.
Yeah,
so that's a good way to kind of let us keep file in mind, because I can see him fall to a late second, maybe a early third round, just because people are so down on him, and that's value. That's amazing value. Awesome. So thank you for just bringing to our attention some of these rookies and how your process, how you use film, how you use I don't want to just say statistics, analytics, and also because there is a distinct difference, something that's descriptive versus something that could be predictive, and I want to keep in mind for that. And you describe your process and how it led you to like these players. So now we're going to use a quick speed test. You won't be overthinking. You'll just bring out your process and analyze some of these guys that I'm throwing out to you, because these players I've come across in my Twitter feed being people have no idea how to value them. Some are higher on him, some are lower on them. But if you were to just quickly crunch your process and just spit out this your thoughts on the player, that's kind of how I tap into like the quick process of analysts. So this is my ink blot test. So, very, very vague ink blot test, but the first guy that I'll throw at you, and you can give me your quick spiel about this person, Dion Lewis.
Dion Lewis, I think a lot of people loved his numbers last year. They love what he can bring as far as, like I said earlier, with his elusiveness. People always love to quote, like, he basically broke PFF's elusive rating, like I think 2 or 3 years ago, like basically just off the charts, like, and then he got injured, but people want to quote that all the time, and he still got that to his game. So I think people want to think he's going to have no role because they want to get behind Derrick Henry. He's probably going to be on the field about 40% of the time at least, unless there's just a massive, massive philosophical change across the board everywhere in Tennessee. And maybe there will be with the new offensive coordinators and things like that. But I think he's going to be on the field quite a bit because they don't want Derrick Henry to do much. So I look at the expectations there, and I see an opportunity to get maybe a running back 24, 25-ish PPR. Who's not going to see the field a ton, but somebody that really values Derrick Henry a whole lot and just so happens to have Dion Lewis, or maybe just somebody who has Dion Lewis and they think that, well, he's in Tennessee now. He's not even the main option, and I should probably sell him off. Take advantage of that because his role, you can't expect him to be a running back 1. He's not going to be that guy for you. You can't be sure he's going to be a running back 2. But if you can get him for running back 3 prices, go out right now. Stop listening even for a moment and go get Dion Lewis.
Awesome. Yeah, we had a chat last year, I think, when we talked on Derrick Henry. I don't know if you remember this. So I kind of put the idea out that people are going to overvalue Derrick Henry once they get Tennessee moves on from DeMarco Murray, and you are the first one that says, no, they're probably going to bring someone in. Maybe it's a rookie, maybe it's someone else, and now we know it's Dion Lewis.
Yeah, they still might add somebody in the draft, and that would throw a wrench into my plans even more. But for buying Dion Lewis, but hey, we'll see what happens.
Yeah, and we're excited for that. So so my second guy to you, Jamison Crowder.
Jamison Crowder is another guy that you just have to manage the expectations. I don't know why Dynasty Twitter and Dynasty owners everywhere just see one decent season and think that, oh, well, he's going to keep on trending upwards. He's going to keep on going. He's going to keep on getting better. You know, in 2016, he had just shy of 100 targets, and that's great. He had 7 touchdowns at a very, very small size, and that was the easiest thing to pick out and just say that's probably never happening again. He had like 7 scores. The dude's 5'8". There's not many guys that are 5'8" and are going to score 7 touchdowns a season, let alone ever again. And lo and behold, he only scored 3 touchdowns this year. What do you know? He had basically the same yards per reception. He had basically the same number of targets. He had almost the exact same number of receptions, but the touchdowns went away, and the expectations of him being a consistent wide receiver 2 were shattered. So I think that's not who he is. That's not who he's going to be. If you want him to be a plug-and-play flex that can have a safe floor, that's probably who he is. And even, I don't really care who the quarterback is. Maybe Alex Smith finds him a little bit more this season. I'm still not going to bank on him ever being my wide receiver 2. So it's really just, in my process, I just have to focus on what my expectations and my range of outcomes are, and buy if somebody's selling in the low range of that range of expectations and outcomes.
Perfect. Yeah, Jamison Crowder has certainly gone from someone that everyone was pounding the table on that he should be a wide receiver 2. And of course, we had the warning signs. We just, or I was part of that. And to ignore that, I liked him. Being able to watch him from Duke, was it? Yeah, Duke.
Mm-hmm.
And he crushed my team every time he's on the field. He's still a good player, like you mentioned.
Yeah, he's a solid player. But
touchdown with that 5'8", like you mentioned. Don't you worry. Some other guy named Jakeem Grant will probably take over as that overhyped short guy. Okay, my last guy to you is Jimmy Graham.
Yeah, so the hype is real there with him, I think, because oh my goodness, he's got Aaron Rodgers, so that means he's going to be a tight end -1. I don't know, like above a tight end one. But really, we're looking at a guy who's entering his age 32 season at the tight end position. He's a big, box out basketball player, tight end. Maybe Aaron Rodgers will just chuck it his way a few times. But last year was his worst season outside of the touchdowns because they just kind of threw him jump balls because he's massive. He's a massive person. He had an awful season. Like he had like one of the worst catch rates he'd ever had in his career. I believe maybe even the worst catch rate of his career. He had the lowest yardage total since his rookie year. So everything is trending down for his game. Even like his yards per reception, he can't get anything after the catch anymore. He's not the same player. Yeah, he's probably going to have 6 scores at least. So that's probably going to win you some weeks here and there. But I don't really want to trust him as my go-to, top tier tight end one. Could he accidentally end up as a tight end one this year? Absolutely. But I don't really want to trust him every single week thinking, oh, he just got Aaron Rodgers, so he's going to be a winner for me this week automatically. Can you do worse at the tight end position? Yes. Should you probably have already sold him? Yes. But that's my take on Jimmy.
All right. Yeah, that's a good kind of description of what he had. Last year he had one of the most accurate quarterback. Well, I don't know if Russell Wilson's was that anymore, but Russell Wilson is pretty on point with his throws.
Top option for sure.
And we had high expectation. I had high expectation, and he just drops those. You watch him drop certain easy passes. He doesn't look the same to me anymore, and I guess, and I will agree with you on that point. He was a fantastic tight end for me when I got him at his peak. And now we have seen a trend of tight ends go through Green Bay. And like you said, they're probably better for best ball type of format than they are for a dynasty where you have to figure out, am I going to trust him? Or maybe I can trust Cameron Brate, who might be more consistent. Well, that was a fantastic. I really enjoyed just digging into your dynasty process. Why don't you let our guests? Why don't you let our audience know where they can find your work, where they can find you?
Yeah, sure. Again, thanks for having me on. This is a blast just to get into a little. I guess it's for me. It's good to even just look at my own process, like for prepping for this podcast. I was like, oh yeah, I do that. So that was a fun thing for me. So thanks again. But you can find a lot of my work at Dynasty League Football with the Fantasy Authority. You can find me on the Dynasty Life podcast every week with Justin McCaslin and Andrew Frechette. We've got some awesome guests lined up leading up to the NFL draft. And I just started writing for Last Word on Sports, a part of the NFL team covering the Titans and NFL draft stuff there too. So a lot of exciting stuff too. And yeah, check out, like you said, the touchdown time videos too. I'm going to be doing some more of those as the draft approaches. So should be fun.
Awesome. So you are a busy man all the way throughout the off season. Hope you take a break though. I know it's
yeah, if I do, it's like doing grad school stuff. So
you're in grad school too?
Yeah, well, right now I've got a little break, but in the summer I'll be doing that again. So
we can probably talk a little bit off air how all that worked. I was in grad school just until last year.
Nice.
This was hectic, but it was also a break from studying at times. Yeah. But thank you so much, Travis. You've been an amazing guest. Fellas, my name is at FF Dynasty 101 on Twitter. You can always find me on Twitter, trying to chat, trying to make light of situations, such as, trading up to the 3rd spot for the Jets to find their 6 or 7 people that they like. And also, I'm running a contest on my Twitter. Like my pin tweet at the 50th. I will try to do another drawing for a free draft guide. We have the RSP coming out on April 1st. We have the Orange Report by FF Ghost. We have NDT Scouting releasing a draft guide. We have Debbie's guides everywhere. If you want to win one of that, it's simply just liking the pin tweet. And if you have any suggestions for upcoming shows, because I'm taking a pause from the Dynasty Mind for now, but I'm trying to think of new ways to present a Dynasty Mind once we get closer to the draft. But again, thank you so much, everyone, for watching. Thank you, Travis, for being on, and hope to see you guys soon.